The CEO fired me in front of the entire executive team and told me I was lucky to have lasted that long. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I simply picked up the cardboard box containing 9 years of my life and walked toward the elevator. What my CEO didn't know was that the woman waiting for me in the lobby wasn't a stranger. She was the CEO of the company that had been trying to buy ours for 3 years. And she had just offered me the position I never thought I was qualified for. My name is Sarah Bennett, and for most of my life, I believed being responsible meant putting everyone else before yourself. I was 38 years old, a single mother, and a senior financial analyst at Harrison & Cole, one of the largest consulting firms in Chicago. My daughter Emma was 9. She was the reason I woke up at 5:30 every morning. She was the reason I packed lunches before sunrise, worked late when I was exhausted, and accepted every assignment my managers gave me. I didn't have a glamorous life. We lived in a modest apartment outside the city. Our car was 11 years old. Emma's favorite shoes had been repaired twice because she refused to replace them, but we were happy. At least, I thought we were. I had worked at Harrison & Cole since Emma was born. I started as a junior analyst and slowly worked my way upward. I never came from money. My father had been a mechanic. My mother worked at a public library. They taught me two things: keep your promises and never expect someone else to save you. So I built my career one promotion at a time. I stayed late. I learned systems nobody else understood. I fixed financial reports before executives noticed they were wrong. Whenever a major client threatened to leave, I was usually the person sent into the meeting to calm them down. I never complained. I simply did the work. Then came the Meridian account. Meridian Industries was Harrison & Cole's biggest client. Their contract was worth more than $20 million a year. And 6 months before the contract renewal, someone discovered a serious financial discrepancy. Millions of dollars were being incorrectly reported. If the problem became public, Harrison & Cole could lose the account. The CEO, Richard Harrison, called an emergency meeting. 20 executives sat around a massive conference table. Everyone blamed everyone else. The accounting department blamed operations. Operations blamed finance. Finance blamed the software. Richard finally looked at me. Sarah, can you fix this? I looked at the numbers. Then I looked at him. Yes. How long? Give me 2 weeks. I worked for 13 days straight. I missed Emma's school play. I ate dinner at my desk twice. I slept in my office. On the 14th morning, I found the error. It wasn't the software. It wasn't accounting. It wasn't even an accident. Someone inside the company had been deliberately moving money between accounts to hide losses. And the person responsible was one of the company's senior executives. I documented everything. I sent the evidence directly to Richard. He thanked me. He told me I had saved the Meridian contract. Then he promised me something else. Sarah, when the board reviews your performance, I'm personally recommending you for vice president. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to dream. Maybe things were finally changing. Maybe Emma and I could move into a better apartment. Maybe I could stop worrying about every unexpected bill. Maybe all those years of sacrifice had finally meant something. Then, 3 weeks later, Richard called me into his office. There were 3 people waiting inside: the head of human resources, the company's legal counsel, and Richard. I immediately knew something was wrong. Richard didn't ask me to sit. Sarah, we're restructuring your department. I stared at him. Okay, your position has been eliminated. For several seconds, I didn't understand. But the Meridian account has been transferred. And my promotion? Richard looked away. There will be no promotion. I felt something inside me collapse. Why? He slid a document across the desk. Your performance has been inconsistent. I almost laughed. Inconsistent? He nodded. You missed several important meetings. My daughter was sick. That's exactly the kind of issue we're talking about. I looked at him. I suddenly understood. They didn't see me as an employee who had saved millions. They saw me as a woman with a child, a woman who couldn't work every weekend, a woman who couldn't travel at a moment's notice, a woman who had responsibilities outside the office. Richard pushed another envelope toward me. Your severance. I didn't touch it. You promised me a promotion. His expression hardened. Promises aren't contracts. That sentence stayed with me. I picked up the envelope. Then I stood. Thank you. The HR director looked surprised. That's all? I nodded. That's all. I walked out of the office. I reached my desk and began packing. A framed photograph of Emma, a coffee mug she'd painted for me at school, a small plant, 9 years of notes, reports, and memories. My hands were shaking as I carried the box toward the elevator. Then my phone rang. It was Emma. Mom? Hi, sweetheart. Are you coming home? I looked at the cardboard box in my arms. Yes. Can we have pancakes? I smiled despite everything. Absolutely. I walked out of the office. I reached my desk and began packing. A framed photograph of Emma, a coffee mug she'd painted for me at school, a small plant, 9 years of notes, reports, and memories. My hands were shaking as I carried the box toward the elevator. Then my phone rang. It was Emma. Mom? Hi, sweetheart. Are you coming home? I looked at the cardboard box in my arms. Yes. Can we have pancakes? I smiled despite everything. Absolutely. I pressed the elevator button. The doors opened, and that's when I saw her. A woman standing in the lobby wearing a simple black suit. I recognized her immediately. Eleanor Grant, founder and CEO of Grant Financial, Harrison and Cole's biggest competitor. For years, Richard Harrison had called her his most dangerous rival. She looked at the box in my arms. Then she smiled. Sarah Bennett? I froze. Yes? She extended her hand. I've been looking for you. I glanced toward the security desk. Why? Eleanor looked toward the elevator behind me. Because your company just made the biggest mistake I've seen in 15 years. I didn't know what to say. She continued. I read your Meridian report. My heart stopped. You did? I read the original report. She lowered her voice. Not the edited version your CEO submitted to the board. I stared at her. What do you mean? Eleanor reached into her briefcase and pulled out a folder. Your original investigation proved that someone inside Harrison and Cole had been manipulating financial records. I nodded slowly. I gave that evidence to Richard. He never gave it to the board. I felt cold. Why? Because the executive you exposed is one of his closest business partners. I couldn't speak. Eleanor looked at me carefully. Sarah, they didn't fire you because you weren't valuable. She paused. They fired you because you knew too much. Before I could answer, she opened the folder. Inside was an employment offer. I stared at the numbers. My salary would be almost double what I had been earning. The position was Director of Financial Integrity. Flexible hours, full medical coverage, a company vehicle, and a signing bonus larger than I had ever seen in my bank account. I looked up. Why me? Eleanor smiled. Because I've spent 3 years trying to hire people who think like you. She pointed at the report. Everyone else in this industry asks how to make a number look better. You asked whether the number was true. I swallowed. I'm a single mother. I know. I can't work until midnight every night. I don't want you to. I need to pick my daughter up from school, then pick her up. I stared at her. She smiled. Sarah, I don't need another employee who sacrifices everything for a company. I need someone who knows what she's worth. For the first time that day, I couldn't hold back my tears. Not because I had lost my job, because someone had finally seen me. I signed the offer 2 days later, but Eleanor wasn't finished. Before I started, she asked me to bring Emma to the office. I was nervous. Instead, Emma walked through the doors holding my hand and stared at the enormous lobby. Mom, do you work here now? I smiled. Yes. Emma looked around. Is this your boss? Eleanor crouched down and smiled. Actually, your mother is going to be one of the people helping me run this place. Emma's eyes widened. Wow. Eleanor laughed. She's very good at it. Emma looked at me. I knew you were. That sentence nearly broke me. Because my daughter had never cared about my salary. She never cared about my job title. She never cared about the car I drove. She only cared whether I came home. 3 months later, Harrison and Cole began losing clients. The internal investigation Eleanor had started eventually uncovered the financial manipulation I'd originally discovered. The executive responsible resigned. Richard Harrison was forced to step down as CEO, but I never celebrated. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. 6 months after I left, I received an email from Richard. The subject was simple. I owe you an apology. I almost deleted it. Instead, I opened it. Sarah, I spent years believing that leadership meant demanding more from people, more hours, more sacrifices, more loyalty. I never realized that I was destroying the people who gave me those things. You were one of the best employees I ever had, and I treated you like a problem because you had a life outside the company. I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me. I closed the email. I didn't reply, not because I hated him, because I had finally learned something. Not every apology deserves an answer. Sometimes the best response is simply moving forward. 2 years later, I was promoted to Chief Financial Integrity Officer at Grant Financial. Emma was 11. We moved into a small house with a backyard. Nothing extravagant, just enough room.